Hi everyone. We're continuing to read from C.S. Lewis's book, The Screwtape Letters. And this is a question that I think Jehovah's Witnesses should ask themselves. Who doesn't want you to be at church, and why? Listen to Screwtape's letter to Wormwood. My dear Wormwood, you mentioned casually in your last letter that the patient has continued to attend one church and one only since he was converted, and that he is not wholly pleased with it. May I ask what you are about? Why have I no report on the causes of his fidelity to the parish church? Do you realize that unless it is due to indifference, it is a very bad thing? Surely you know that if a man can't be cured of church-going, the next best thing is to send him all over the neighborhood looking for the church that suits him, until he becomes a taster or connoisseur of churches. The reasons are obvious. In the first place, the parochial organization should always be attacked, because, being a unity of place and not of likings, it brings people of different classes and psychology together in a kind of unity the enemy desires. The congregational principle, on the other hand, makes each church into a kind of club, and finally, if all goes well, into a coterie or faction. In the second place, the search for a suitable church makes the man a critic, where the enemy wants him to be a pupil. What he wants of the layman in church is an attitude which may indeed be critical in the sense of rejecting what is false or unhelpful, but which is wholly uncritical in the sense that it does not appraise, does not waste time in thinking about what it rejects, but lays itself open in uncommenting, humble receptivity to any nourishment that is going. He continues his thought. I think I warned you before that if your patient can't be kept out of the church, he ought at least to be violently attached to some party within it. I don't mean on really doctrinal issues. About those, the more lukewarm he is, the better. And it isn't the doctrines on which we chiefly depend for producing malice. The real fun is working up hatred between those who say Mass and those who say Holy Communion, when neither party could possibly state the difference between, say, Hooker's doctrine and Thomas Aquinas's in any form which would hold water for 5 minutes. And all the purely indifferent things, candles and clothes and what-not, are an admirable ground for our activities. We have quite removed from men's minds what that pestilent fellow Paul used to teach about food and other unessentials, namely, that the human without scruples should always give in to the human with scruples. You would think they would not fail to see the application. You would expect to find the low churchmen genuflecting and crossing themselves lest the weak conscience of his high brother should be moved to irreverence, and the high one refraining from those exercises lest he should betray his low brother into idolatry. And so it would have been, but for our ceaseless labor. Without that, the variety of usage within the Church of England might have become a positive hotbed of charity and humility. Your affectionate Uncle Screwtape. So here, his reference to Paul, I have in mind Romans chapter 14. I would suggest reading the whole of Romans chapter 14, because Paul does make the point that we should be able to see what is an essential and what is a non-essential when it comes to people's faith. We should be concerned about the conscience of the other guy rather than ourselves. So it's a very good read for getting that right, I would say. Romans chapter 14. With Jehovah's Witnesses, everything is important. There are no essentials and non-essentials. Everything is essential. Everything matters and everything is important, and you have to have an answer to everything when you're a witness. And we call that unity when we're witnesses, but it's really uniformity. So what unifies Christians? When we're witnesses, we don't think they have any unity. But even in different denominations, there is a unity that exists within the Christian church. I'm going to link to 2 videos. One is called What JW Org is Not Telling You About Christian Unity, and it reflects on the Apostles' Creed. And the second video is JW Org Bogus Unity Rejects Apostolic Counsel on Conscience. And that one is specifically on Romans chapter 14.